We found Escherichia coli, which lives in the gut and can cause infections of the gut.
Diarrhea?
Diarrhea in some cases, yes. We found Streptococcus sanguis, which is a streptococcus which normally lives in the mouth and in rare cases can cause disease of the heart. And finally we found Staphylococcus aureus, which was a little surprise, which we know causes a whole variety of infections, from very trivial things like boils to very severe life-threatening infections.
So taken together, Dr. Martin, what do you make of that extraordinary cocktail in the handpiece?
It's not something I'd want in my mouth.
Guy's Dental Hospital in London. It's one of the most senior teaching hospitals in the country.
So when ulcers first appear, they're usually elliptical in shape.
This is where hygiene education begins, where they're taught to go by the book. In this environment, the feeling persists that everyone's behaving themselves on the outside because that's the professional thing to do.
I think the current BDA guidelines are very pragmatic, and I think that if dentists adhere to those, that patients can be reassured that the risk of transmission of HIV, or indeed many of the other viruses or bacteria, which are much more transmissible in dentistry, would be remote.
Should, given the new threats posed by the Acker case, do you believe that the British guidelines should now become mandatory?
I think that's an interesting point, and I think that's certainly one that would be taken up by the professional organisations.
Dental tradition has always put its faith in the sterilising power of chemical disinfectants. But the HIV virus, like the deadly bacteria inside the handpiece, is immune to the old ways.
It remains very unlikely and a low possibility, but yes, the possibility remains that the handpieces and indeed other instruments could be the ways by which viruses and bacteria could be transferred between patients if they're not efficiently sterilised.
It's unlikely the Acker case will ever be solved. There are only probabilities, no certainties, yet the doubt hangs ominously over dental practice everywhere. Is it really enough that many British dentists know so little about this crucial case and that large numbers seem not to practice full infection control in their surgeries? The chance of HIV infection at the dentist remains very low, but certainly cannot be ruled out. It's up to the dentists themselves to reduce the risk to zero.
As the welfare state places an increasing burden on the nation's economy, Newsnight on BBC2 in 20 minutes explores the challenge facing the politicians who have to find the money for society's safety net.
In Crime Limited this week, the people the system seems to overlook. The father who lives in fear of his son, a murderer. The taxi driver in fear of his life who drove a bomb to blow up Downing Street. And imagine being guilty until proven innocent. We reconstruct the case that changed the law on murder. The human consequences of crime. In Crime Limited with Nick Ross, Thursday at 8:30 on BBC1.
Right now on BBC1, a raunchy rural romp with George Cole, Geraldine James and David Suchet as the mysterious blot on the landscape.